The Maginot Line led to France's collapse just 6 weeks after its completion. Why did the strongest fortress in history prove utterly useless? Its construction cost approximately 3 billion francs at the time, equivalent to hundreds of trillions of yen in today's value. Yet, this immense expenditure and cutting-edge technology ultimately proved futile. In truth, this failure stemmed from structural causes that continue to recur even today. What exactly transformed the ultimate defense into its greatest vulnerability? In this video, we will unravel why this impregnable defensive line failed to function, who overlooked what critical details, and the profound lessons modern organizations must learn. Let us now delve into the full scope of the collapse of the Maginot Line, history's largest military project. The main feature further elaborates on its political and economic backdrop. In the trench warfare of World War I, France suffered immense devastation. Its land was ravaged, and countless lives were lost. Having lost approximately 1.3 million soldiers, France vowed never to repeat such errors, seeking an answer to future warfare. This led to the conception of the Maginot Line, to be built along the German border. It aimed not for dynamic frontline combat, but for the avoidance of war through an impenetrable defense. Construction began in 1929, the culmination of decades of national yearning. Its design represented the pinnacle of military engineering of the era. Dug deep underground, these fortresses were akin to subterranean cities, equipped with living quarters, hospitals, ammunition depots, and even power stations. Massive gun turrets rose above ground, and machine gun emplacements were meticulously positioned. Its sheer scale and robustness astonished military experts worldwide. The French people believed this fortress to be the shield defending the nation, and there was little objection to the vast sums of taxpayer money invested. It stood as a symbol of hope. Both politicians and citizens were convinced that the Maginot Line alone would prevent World War II and guarantee France's security. The completed Maginot Line indeed exerted significant psychological pressure on Germany. A direct assault was considered exceedingly difficult. Its objective was also to delay a German invasion, buying time for the French army to mobilize. In fact, this strategy functioned effectively in its early stages. If the German army were to deploy along the Maginot Line, it would be a repeat of World War I, and France was prepared for precisely that. Germany, too, considered a breakthrough of the Maginot Line unrealistic and did not plan a large-scale direct assault. This could be considered a temporary success. The French military strategy was a two-pronged structure, using the Maginot Line as a shield and deploying mobile forces as a spear to its west, towards the Belgian border. A specific scenario was envisioned, confronting German forces drawn to the Maginot Line with mobile units deployed in the Belgian sector. This plan was by no means unsophisticated for military doctrine of the 1930s. In fact, it represented the prevailing defensive strategy of the time. Up to this point, all seemed well. France had built its ultimate defense system in preparation for the coming conflict and was growing increasingly confident. However, the world was changing rapidly. In Germany, the theory of blitzkrieg, advocated by figures like Heinz Guderian, was gaining prominence. Blitzkrieg was a revolutionary tactic, overturning conventional wisdom by concentrating air power and armored units to punch through enemy defenses at a single point and rapidly penetrate deep. Many leaders of the French military underestimated this new threat. They remained fixated on the formidable Maginot Line and their experiences from trench warfare. Another fatal oversight was the northern end of the Maginot Line, at the Belgian border. Belgium had declared neutrality, and France did not extend the Maginot Line to its frontier. The Ardennes forest, spanning Belgian territory, was deemed unsuitable for tanks, and was thus judged not to be a primary invasion route. Consequently, the Maginot Line abruptly ended, leaving its open flank as an attractive invasion route for the German army. Furthermore, the enormous construction costs curtailed investment in French mobile forces and air power. The budget had been heavily skewed towards static defense. But here, a pitfall no one noticed was gaping wide open. Once a large-scale project begins, it is difficult to change course. The Maginot Line was a classic example of the Concorde effect. Considering the immense funds and effort invested, altering or abandoning the plan was politically and economically unacceptable. Past successes, specifically the lessons from World War I's trench warfare, instead fostered groupthink, hindering adaptation to new threats. Dissenting opinions and proposals for new tactics were dismissed by existing authorities. Any response to change was branded as unrealistic. Excessive reliance on Belgium's neutrality also contributed to neglecting the Maginot Line's northern vulnerability. Diplomatic flexibility was lacking. Internal military sectionalism was another issue. Various branches, such as infantry, artillery, and engineers, sought to protect their own vested interests. Particularly, the Engineer Corps, which constructed the Maginot Line, excessively asserted its effectiveness, tending to suppress critical opinions. The Maginot Line symbolized an organizational psychology that turned a blind eye to the changing realities of warfare, content to rest on past successes. On May 10, 1940, German forces began their invasion of France. They did not confront the Maginot Line head-on. Their chosen strategy was a daring operation. Tank divisions breaking through the Ardennes forest, a region France had deemed impassable. The Maginot Line, fortified with millions of troops and formidable defenses, was literally bypassed, rendering its existence meaningless. The French forces arrayed along the Maginot Line were completely unprepared for an attack from an unexpected direction and quickly fell into disarray. In just 6 weeks, German forces completely overwhelmed France. Paris fell and France surrendered. The strongest defensive line could not save its homeland. The soldiers within the Maginot Line continued to fight until the very end, but by then, mainland France had already collapsed. The Maginot Line stands as a tragic lesson, demonstrating how easily a project, once envisioned for the future, can become a relic of the past. Corporations and organizations must not cling to past successes. They must constantly remain sensitive to environmental changes. A massive investment does not always guarantee correctness. Sometimes, flexible withdrawal or a change in direction is also necessary. The Maginot Line teaches us why an impregnable defensive line failed to function, the pitfalls no one noticed, and the lessons modern organizations must learn. Overconfidence and past successes can sometimes become the most dangerous traps. The future consistently surpasses past predictions. The quality of decision-making concerning change will likely differ significantly between those who understand this failure and those who do not. The tragedy of the Maginot Line challenges us, living in the modern era, with the importance of constantly embracing change and continuing to learn. To not change is the greatest danger. That is what the Maginot Line silently conveys to us.